And welcome back, everyone, to another great episode of Laptops on the Field. My name is Alex, and today I'm joined by my good friend Bennett.
Hello.
Hendricks.
Hey.
And Bunny.
Hiya.
Our good friend Harrison is out today because he had to travel because it's the holidays. And Jeremy, we're going to assume, is the same thing. We couldn't really get a hold of him. Anyway, that's not the point. Today, we have a ton of topics to talk about, and we're going to start with the current manager hires in Major League Baseball. We'll start first with the Orioles with Brandon Hyde, who recently got hired in Baltimore. I know I'm excited with this guy because he's from the Cubs organization. He's been groomed well, managerial-wise. I think it's a great move. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
agree.
as long as he can handle the lineup better than Buck Showalter, we're good.
I agree. It's a very good hire, not because he only worked with the Cubs. In general, he also worked with them in player development, so he has experience working with how players, acclimate to the major leagues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another interesting bit before we get Bunny's opinion. That recently, I was talking about this hire with my dad, who worked at the spring training home of the then Florida Marlins and St. Louis Cardinals in Jupiter, Florida. And at the same facility, they have the high A affiliates of each team, the Palm Beach Cardinals and Jupiter Hammerheads. Brandon Hyde was the manager of the Jupiter Hammerheads come when my dad was there. So that's why Dad loved the hire so much.
All right.
Because he was a coach for the Marlins organization from 2003 to 2010 or 11, right before they moved to their new stadium in Miami.
All right.
Bunny, what do you think of this?
Well, he was a catcher during his short stint as a player, right?
Yep.
So, that's normally really good in terms of you're a coach on the field, you're talking to the pitcher, you're coaxing them through the progressions and all that. So that should be helpful. And he's just got to manage these personalities, and he's got plenty of time because there should be zero expectations out of the gate.
Yeah. I mean, as long as he manages the lineup better than Buck Showalter, keeping in Chris Davis every single day.
I won't blame Showalter for that, because a lot of teams, when they have this huge investment, even into a bad player, management forces them to keep them in the lineup because we have to get some sort of return on this investment, and we have to hope something happens because we have to get rid of them somehow, and if we just don't play them, we can't get rid of them at all.
Yeah.
So we would rather lose on the bat of Chris Davis than possibly go, a little bit better without him, but still not be worth anything and get no return on our investment and just throw all that money down the tubes. It's a very common thing. That's why Homer Bailey's had a job the past few years.
Oh,
Same thing with Adam Dunn. Same with Adam Dunn.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Speaking of the Orioles with Chris Davis, is that we really had no one else to put in there. I know we can all sit there and laugh at Chris Davis, but at the same time, the Orioles had 3 first basemen really on the roster in Trey Mancini, Mark Trumbo, and Davis.
Mancini played in left field, right? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, he did, because we really had no one else to put there. Trumbo played some right field this year and was just, oh God, he was awful.
He was also your DH most of the time, right?
Yeah.
So, you had to have someone, and you weren't going to put Tim Beckham at DH. Then you're really tanking.
Oof, yikes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we're changing.
I experienced that. I remember when Kevin Cash put Tim Beckham as a DH. Those are some of the worst memories of my life.
I mean, at the same point, I watched Chris Davis try to be a leadoff hitter. So.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's bad.
That is not a good life.
It was about as fun as sticking your hand in a mousetrap.
Yeah,
or a toaster.
Matt Olson is pretty much just a better version of Chris Davis, the strong power-hitting first baseman.
Well, that's not saying much, since Chris Davis is the worst player in baseball.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Let's see.
And we're talking about Chris Davis of the Orioles, not Crush Davis. We're not.
Even though his nickname is Crush Davis in Baltimore.
247 Davis is better than other Davis.
Let's
4
see.
years in a row, but on to the next managerial hire, right?
Yeah, we're gonna stay in the ALs and talk about Charlie Montoyo, who was the manager, for the Durham Bulls, and there was a candidate for the 2015 managerial position, and was the Rays bench coach and their third base coach. So, and considering that the Jays are looking for someone with a cultural background to help these kids develop, in Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Bo Bichette and all that. I think this is a great hire for the Blue Jays, even though I don't like Toronto personally. What do you guys think?
I think it's a fantastic hire. I know there's going to be a lot of talk about who the Twins hired, Rocco Baldelli. He's been a long alumnus of the Tampa Bay Rays organization, but so is Charlie Montoyo. He's been there from pretty much the beginning. He was hired as a coach for the Princeton Rays in 1997. He's been a manager for minor league teams for a very long time. He played for the Montreal Expos. So he might have some familiarity with Canada. That might not help at all. It's the entire country has changed a lot over the past 20 years.
Plus years.
Yeah.
You're talking about a different province of Canada anyway, but
yeah. All right.
He's a guy who I've always liked on our staff. The players have always loved him, and chemistry is real important in being a manager. He's pretty much helped us embrace our analytical approach into baseball. I'm really excited. I think this is the best managerial hire this season.
Ooh, that's
I'm not excited because it's a division rival and I hate the Blue Jays, but I wish him all the best because I really like him as a person.
Yeah, that's a spicy opinion, though. All right, Hendo, what do you think of the hires?
I think it's a good hire, although I don't like it as much as the other hire from the Rays organization by the Twins, Rocco Baldelli. I don't really have much to say on it. It just seemed, underwhelming in comparison to your guys' take on it.
And Bennett?
It's good. It's a good. I'm sorry for it's being so basic. It's just the Blue Jays clearly just didn't trust their previous. I forget his name is slipping my mind right now. Gibbons. Sorry.
Gibby.
They clearly just didn't trust him with, next year's sort of going to be a bit of a transition year. They no longer have Donaldson.
Bautista.
They didn't have Bautista last year. They aren't going to have Tulo. I don't think they had Tulo last year either.
Pretty much not.
But, so it's going to be a transition year. Vladdy Daddy Jr. is going to come into the league. They clearly trust this new guy to develop him and handle him well more than Gibbons.
Tulowitzki didn't play a single game last year.
Wow.
So Bennett was right. Yeah.
Now the other hire from the organization went to Minnesota with Rocco Baldelli. Michael Kadire was a local guy where I live, and he's really approachable, and he comes into the tactical shop my dad works at every now and again. And he asked him, how'd you get, because he's a special consultant with the Twins and was on the board for to see on the interviewing process for manager. And he said that everyone loved Rocco so much, and that Rocco just blew them away with his presentation. So there's a lot of excitement coming out of Minnesota for Rocco right now. And I think it's a great hire too, because they have some young guys who really need to develop at the ML level. And I don't think Paul Molitor did that very well. And with the roster that Minnesota's constructed, I really think they could probably push for a wild card spot.
I'd like to say about Rocco, he's been a star within the Tampa Bay Rays organization and in the community for a very long time. He's one of the guys that a lot of people will go to the park and they'll recognize him and they'll want pictures. They love Rocco Baldelli. He's been a fan favorite for a very long time. He was a Rookie of the Year candidate in his first season.
Yeah, 6th overall pick.
Yeah, he was a really good player until he got screwed up by injuries. Really unfortunate, but he's always been a fan favorite. He was a guy that as soon as he retired, the Tampa Bay Rays pretty much took under their wing and tried to get the most out of him as a person. They tried to get him ready and prepared to be a managerial kind of candidate. And they always were looking for jobs to give him, and he always did them really diligently. It was really impressive. So he's always been kind of groomed for this. The Twins got a guy. They stole a guy from us pretty much. Not that we really needed a manager at this time. Kevin Cash is still one of the younger managers. It's looked very impressive. He should have been manager in the year, in my opinion, last year. One thing with Rocco is that he has no experience as a manager. That really hasn't hurt a lot of people. It didn't hurt Kevin Cash, but it did early on, I would say, in his career. It wasn't until this year I really think he came into his own. So I think there may be some growing pains. With Charlie Montoyo, he had been a manager in the minor league level, and he has experience with major league players. He'd never been a major league manager, obviously. I think that's the ingredient into being a good first-time hire. With Rocco, he had the created role and he's been really involved with analytics, but he's just never really had to make that lineup cards. That's what concerns me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What do you think about this hire, guys?
I really like it.
Yeah,
actually.
I like it. You know, it's never gonna be like, I don't think anybody could, like in the Twins organization anyways, could live up to Ron Gardenhire, because he was just such a good like coach and manager there.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got some big shoes to live up to. With all this praise in the background in it, he could probably like live up to it, especially because next year the Twins are also going to go through a transition year because they no longer have Joe Mauer, lost him to retirement. He's going to have to do a good job if he wants to not make everybody in Minnesota off themselves.
All right.
Pretty strong words.
Yeah, but oh well. What do you think, Endo?
I mean, him being so young, as he's now the youngest manager in Major League Baseball. I think his age, and despite his lack of experience, could give him edge of connecting to those players. It could aid in their development, and it could give him something you don't see with all the managers, a sense of chemistry, I would say.
Yeah. Let's see, who else got hired recently?
Brad Ausmus.
Well, we talked about him in our first episode, so we'll just take a second and just giggle at the Angels quick.
Ivy League education.
Supposedly. Oh, and there's one more hire. Chris Woodward from the Dodgers station is in Texas to be the manager of the Rangers. I think, especially with his background in analytics and everything, and how he's helped build the monster that is the Dodgers. And a lot of players like Max Muncy credit him with helping out and making themselves better players in LA. And a big part of that LA stigma of a player coming to the Dodgers who was just nobody anywhere else, and then just being amazing offensively and defensively. So I think Woodward's a good hire as well, but we'll see.
We'll have to find out. I'm not too familiar with him, but I do know that the Rangers won only 67 games, and they had a Hall of Fame player in Adrian Beltre just retire. So that's a huge hole. I don't know what their minor league situation is, so I don't know if there's any talent pipeline. This is a rebuilding organization.
Yeah, it's lower tier for the most part. There's some pieces in there that are nice, but overall, meh. What do you guys think about Woodward being hired in Texas?
I like the hire. He did work in Seattle as a minor league infield coordinator, and then going to the Dodgers, he did see better results than he did in Seattle, obvious reasons. So I think that getting a chance to prove himself really upped his value in being hired. It's like if you want this guy, you're gonna get him. And I've heard people on Twitter say that he was built to be a manager. He was made to be a manager. He has experience in coaching.
Yeah.
And he really wants to help young players.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to look at it. Bennett, what do you think?
I'm pretty much only following the big player transactions because I'm a bit more of a casual fan, but it's always good to see
new blood come in.
Yeah. It's always nice to see some person go to another organization that's struggling a bit and sometimes just turn it around.
Like Buck Showalter in 2010.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or Gabe Kapler did to the Phillies, kind of.
Yep.
As much as I would love to talk about his decisions in April as a Braves fan. Or you could be Brian Snitker and literally be in the same organization for about 40 years and then finally get your chance and then improve your team. Yep. That's also good.
So manager hires we covered. There have been a lot of signings recently. So let's go through the top 50 big players that got picked up so far.
50?
Well, yeah. We're going off of MLB trade rumors list, right?
Oh, of the top 50 that have been signed.
Yeah. Obviously, we're delaying talk about Bryce Harper and Manny Machado because that hasn't fully metastasized yet.
Well, we all know Machado is signing after the new year.
Yep. So we're gonna be waiting there. Let's see. We'll start with the Nationals signing of Patrick Corbin.
Ugh, man, friggin' Corbin going to the Nationals. Oh boy,
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the NL East is just—it's gonna be
hell. The NL East is gonna be friggin' ridiculous for another few years.
Yeah, I agree. You got the Nationals, the Braves, the Phillies, the Mets, and then the fucking Marlins at the bottom.
Yeah, the Marlins are just gonna be sort of sitting there.
I have a feeling the Mets are going to probably blow it up at the trade deadline because they're just going to be out of contention. I don't know. Maybe that's just too many years of being around a ton of Mets fans, being too pessimistic. I don't know. But let's see. Corbin signed for 6 years, $140 million.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck, Nationals. The only way that contract's working out is if you could re-sign Bryce Harper.
Which they can't.
I don't know. The only reason why they signed him is because they aren't going to re-sign him.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
And I think with Harper, really, I don't think the Nats really needed to re-sign him, honestly. If anything, their outfield's improved because they have Victor Robles in center, Juan Soto in left, and Adam Eaton in right. And you don't have to deal with Bryce Harper with a glove, who statistically last year was one of the worst outfielders in all of baseball.
It came especially to light with excuse me. Came especially to light during that game against the Braves where he walked towards the ball. It was Inciarte. He hit a line drive, it bounced off the wall, and then
Bryce just kind of jogged.
Yeah, he just sort of jogged to the ball. He didn't hustle and get it, and allowed Ender to get, I believe, a double or triple.
The BJ Upton experience.
Hey,
Yes,
Lamau.
I remember Big Man.
Mm-hmm. Big Man's from here. No one likes Big Man up here.
Boss Man Jr.
Anyway, with the Corbin deal, it was $140 million over 2 years, which breaks down to about $23.3 million a year.
Yikes!
So for right now, the Nationals rotation looks really good. However, not a whole lot of depth there, but I think they could hobble it through the season.
Isn't Scherzer in his last year?
No, Scherzer isn't his last year. Scherzer doesn't leave for a while, I don't think.
Yeah.
He's gonna be here for a long time.
He's gonna be in Washington for a while. Let's see, Scherzer's a free agent in 2021.
3 years, sorry.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
So I like the signing from the Nats standpoint because you have to bolster your starting pitching, which is already really good. But I think cost-wise, they paid him a little too much just so he wouldn't go to New York or Philadelphia.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just God bless that he didn't go to the Phillies or the Yankees.
I'd rather him be in DC. So
you're worth what someone else will pay you.
Exactly.
Yeah, basically. Let's see.
So Chick-fil-A determines that I'm worth $8 an hour. Hey, Lamau.
Speaking of the Braves and Chick-fil-A in Atlanta,
it's about time we got to this point.
Let's see. Josh Donaldson signed with the Braves
Woohoo.
for 1 year, $23 million. Which
not woohoo.
What a qualifying offer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, goodness gracious.
I don't really get this because don't you have Solarte as your utility guy?
Nope.
And he hit.
Nope. Solarte. Young Gervis Solarte?
Yeah, I believe so.
No, he's on the Blue Jays.
Oh God.
No, you're fine. We do have Johan Camargo. That's probably who you're thinking of.
Camargo, yes.
Yes, Camargo isn't
Camargo.
our utility guy. It's Culberson that's our utility guy.
Oh goodness.
Charlie Culberson. Johan Camargo, he just sort of got better as the season went along, and he really shined through when we went to Arizona against the Diamondbacks.
Mm-hmm.
He was great in that series, and he just sort of kept growing from there. So I was like, all right, we've got ourselves a homegrown third baseman. Then we signed Josh Donaldson. I'm like, all right, where's Camargo gonna go? Are we gonna send him to the outfield or something? He's never been in the outfield.
I don't know. I wouldn't trust him out in the I wouldn't trust him out in the outfield because Acuna basically fits in left and nowhere else. Right field and center field, you have I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now.
In center field, we have Ender Inciarte. And in right field, we had Markakis, but he's a free agent. Yeah, but he's a free agent. So I mean, we could just do the reverse of what we did to Bautista and just move Donaldson to right field instead of moving Bautista into third base like we tried this season.
No.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
No, it is not.
But you know what? At least Donaldson has an arm.
Yeah.
Donaldson will also probably get injured again, and that's not a cheap shot at him. That's just being realistic. I wanted the Rays to sign him and move him to first base.
Are you kidding me? The Rays, they're going for, the Moneyball 2.0.
Not this year. We've been willing to spend. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
But also with the Braves, we signed Rafi Torres, and the only reason that I bring that up is because I saw a tweet from a Braves fan where it was Rafi Torres' face superimposed onto Raphael from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Shout out to the guy who made that tweet. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name.
I
concerned about the money per year.
I mean,
yeah,
I mean, it's
the money.
It's a 1 year deal.
They're not giving $23 million to Josh Donaldson, who hasn't been healthy in 2 years.
I see it more as a prove it deal, you know.
Also,
But it's an
$23 million
expensive
is a prove it deal.
Also, the
I love this
the
country.
end of an era in Atlanta. Rio Ruiz is gone from the Braves and is now on the Orioles. All the Mexican Braves fans, they cried the day that happened. It was such a travesty.
Ripperoonie.
Such a travesty.
Yeah. Sticking with the Braves, they also signed brought Brian McCann back for 1 year and $5 million.
He's
Yeah.
probably gonna
I like-
retire after this year.
Yeah, I think that's a good deal, money wise, year wise, and just all around.
Yeah, production wise.
I think that's a great deal.
God bless
Yeah.
Brian McCann. Unfortunately, I never really got to see him play as a young one because I wasn't actually that much into baseball. Though I did go to a couple of games and watch it. My favorite player was always Jason Hayward because I remembered his name the most. Literally no other reason but that. But Brian McCann's a legend here. He's from Georgia and he gets to wear the uniform. Just like Frenchie, and so it's good to see him back again. I get to see Brian McCann, and I get to watch him live pretty much daily for the first time in my life as a Brave. So, that's good to know.
I think
Right.
it's a downgrade from Kurt Suzuki, though, from a realistic.
Suzuki.
Yeah, but Suzuki was a free agent, and he went to the Nationals. And also, Anibal Sanchez went to the Nationals. A lot of former Braves have gone to the Nationals this offseason, and you know what? I wish them best of luck, but it sort of sucks.
Beat the Mets and beat the Phillies for us.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, please. Like Washington, I'm actually like chill with y'all because you haven't been around as long in your current form. You haven't been around as long as the Phillies and Mets as a rivalry in our division.
And on top of that, the years they've been good haven't really been the same years the Braves have been good.
Yeah, so there's not been a rivalry going. We've just sort of hated you because you were good, and that's it.
Yeah.
We're sort of like the Yankees, except in our division. It's just like, now, like, Nationals, in my book, you guys are now, like, you've moved from, like, second on rivalries behind the Phillies to, like, third behind the Mets. Like, you guys are chill now because you have Zuck and Anibal now. One's going to add veteran presence to your offense and defense, and then one's going to add veteran presence to your pitching.
All right, so on to the next signing.
Yeah, which I believe would be Anibal Sanchez to the Braves, but we already touched on that. I think it's a great deal for the Nats because it helps boost up their starting pitching rotation depth.
Yeah,
And
depth.
adds a
Yeah.
good fourth and fifth starter. Money wise, it's fine. Let's see. Here's another one that I thought was Andrew McCutchen, former Pirate, going across state to Philadelphia. And signing
Oh,
with the
that's
Phillies.
right. I forgot about that. Oh boy.
They paid way too much money for a corner outfielder whose bat is not going in the right direction.
Old man Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah.
To be fair, he's like 1 year removed from a near 4-war season,
Yeah. All right.
Let's see. So, signed for 3 years, $50 million, and a team option in 2022.
Speaking of other Andrews, Andrew Miller, Cardinal now. My dad's gonna be very happy about that. He's a Cards fan. He grew up in Memphis, so he got to see the Memphis Redbirds a lot. So,
Which is the AAA team for the Cardinals.
yep, and that is Child House. There are Cardinals, not St. Louis Cardinals, but just like the bird Cardinals everywhere. Like they're Cardinal like themed China. There's like a Cardinal birdhouse. It's just everywhere.
Somewhere who might not be everywhere is Andrew Miller. He's been battling injuries the past 2 years. And he was hurt for most of the season this year.
And it was shoulder problems too, is what worries me.
Yeah, shoulder problems at
shoulder
age
problem.
33, 34 he's going to be.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
it's gonna add him. It's gonna add some depth because right now their best.
Reliever is it Trevor Rosenthal?
No, it's reliever, yeah, but their closer is Jordan Hicks, the flamethrower, and because he's throwing so fast, it's like Tommy John's almost waiting to happen. because he's throwing super, super fast. So Andrew Miller will be a good depth piece for them.
The Gainesville Rocket trying to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think-
Holds' finest player.
I think it's a good value signing. But what worries me is that what happened with his shoulder basically happened to Chris Tillman, and Chris Tillman was never the same after he hurt his shoulder. But what I've noticed too is that the arm slot's just kind of different coming out for Andrew Miller now that he's been hurt. The same thing happened with Tillman, so it remains to be seen whether he can be really good if Andrew Miller can return to that 2016 form where he was just lights out and just mowed down everyone.
Yeah.
Daniel Murphy, Rocky.
Yep.
He's a Rocky
Yeah.
now.
I think that's a terrible signing.
Really? How so?
Yeah, because they already have so much to put at first base for so much money.
He's a second baseman.
I know that, but he's not a good second baseman, and they have a decent second baseman, don't they?
What's his name? Ian Desmond?
No. I mean, that's what they thought, but guess not.
Who is it? Oh, it's LeMahieu, I think.
Yeah, but he had free agency this year.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're gonna go with their top prospect,
Brendan Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Brendan Rodgers, because he did really well in Double A this year. May need some seasoning at Double A, but he's one of the top prospects in all of baseball.
Yeah.
The number 9 prospect in all of baseball because of how good he is in the infield, playing short, second, and third base. I could see that him going there. Who they had there this year, in between LeMahieu getting in Garrett Hampson. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
Don't they have a lot of infield depth in their minor league system?
They do.
Yeah. Daniel
Hampson.
Murphy's sort of gonna embody almost all the Rockies. Sans Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story.
Mm-hmm.
Just big bat, not great on defense.
Yeah. I think him and Shirley Blackmon as a 1-2 punch would be fantastic, man.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
And then followed up by Arenado and Story. Oh my lord, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
They weren't that good in offense last year.
Well, they had Gerardo Parra taking at bats, so I mean, what can you expect?
Yeah.
But yeah, Murphy was one of the worst second basemen defensively last year. For the Cubs.
Yeah.
Mets fans know his terrible defense well.
And being around the Nats, I heard everyone complain about how Daniel Murphy can't play second base. So
that's why I'm thinking, yeah, he's kind of have to be a first baseman, but they have Ian Desmond that you can't put him in the outfield. That would be awful.
I mean, he was like according to Baseball Reference, he was a negative -0.1 defensive WAR wise in 2015 when he played left field all year for the Rangers. So that could be a possibility. I don't want it to be a possibility, but it might be.
All right, moving a bit further west, we've got the Angels signing Matt Harvey.
That's a prove it deal. That's a prove it deal.
That's a big prove it deal. I think it could be okay.
He's finally gonna be in like a bigger market than the Mets. I mean, let's just face it. Even though the Mets are in a big market, they aren't nearly as big as their brothers in Bronx.
But
the
New
New York Post loves to rag on the Mets, so I won't say that it's a bigger market. And he's going to be in Anaheim, so he's going to be going to the other second fiddle of the second fiddle city.
Yeah,
the second fiddle is Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, you can't argue that it's like way bigger of a market than like New York.
If you were the Dodgers, I'd say yeah. But if you're the Angels, you're Anaheim.
The two of them are really neck and neck. Those are TV markets.
Yeah, they also
in the country.
They also got a Justin Bauer from the Marlins. Thank God the Braves killer is out of our division.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about.
Should we go back to the Rays and talk about how they signed Charlie Morton?
That's what I was literally just about to say.
That's what I was about to say too.
You fucking read my mind.
All right,
Charlie Morton. All right,
take it away.
Charlie Morton going to the Rays is a great signing. I think they paid a little too much for him, but you know what? Veteran leadership in Tampa Bay with all those young pitchers coming up, they're going to need someone, and I think Charlie Morton's a great signing just for that.
Yeah,
I think he can do well in the American League East because he's proven he can do be really good against the Yankees. Against the Red Sox, it's fun. I mean, overall, I think it's a good signing for Tampa Bay, though.
Not many pitchers were good against the Red Sox last season, so.
Yeah, we'll be quite fair. He had 2 of the better seasons of his career with the Houston Astros, so maybe you can teach those young pitchers what they're teaching them in Houston.
Yeah.
He's been an upward trending player. If he does what he's projected to do, I love this signing. Even if you go with the more modest projections of a 3.59 ERA in 158 innings, that would be a great second or third pitcher for us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Behind who's gonna be like? Who's your
number one pitcher? Snell.
Yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. But who's like? Because I know it was Snell and Archer, like as the only 2 like proven starters, like midway through the season. And then
Glass
Archer
now.
What? Sorry.
We traded Archer for Glass now.
Yeah, I know that. Oh, so it's Glass now. Haha. And who else?
Glass now, Morton, and Snell, and
a series of openers. Great.
And series of openers. Yep.
Yeah, Sergio Romo.
Well, he's gone. Sergio Romo's gone. It's gonna, the best opener was Stanek.
Stanek. Okay.
And Jacob Furrier is also still alive, I think.
Ryan Yarbrough as well.
Ryan Yarbrough was never a starter. He was one of the headliners.
Yeah, that's a good release.
Actually, he did start a few games, but he was mainly a headliner. But yeah, I'd like Chirinos to get an opportunity maybe, but what Kevin Cash has said is that he wants to have 3 traditional starters and 3 openers. Yeah, it's going to look like...
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, all right.
Let's see. Michael Brantley went from Cleveland to Houston.
Yeah, that breaks my heart. There were so many rumors about Brantley coming to the Braves, and it's just not meant to be, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a weird signing because they already have Josh Reddick locked up a few more years, and they have Kyle Tucker on the verge of the majors. So I don't get the signing because outfield was never a big issue for Houston. It was the bullpen. But they signed an outfielder, and I just don't get that.
Maybe they just did it to spite the Braves. Who knows?
I think they're trying to trade Josh Reddick. They shopped him around the winter meetings and got like no takes.
Well, yeah, because he's a 1.8 WAR outfielder who can't hit left-handed pitching, and is owed $26 million the next 2 years.
All right, let's hop on over to the Bay Area with my boy Matt Olson's team. He's from my hometown. So the A's signed Joakim Soria to a few-year deal.
Let's see. In Oakland, he signed a 2-year, $15 million contract. So he's getting paid about $7.5 a year. I think that's a good deal overall for the A's because they already have a really good bullpen. It just adds to another strength.
I wish that bullpen could have showed up against the Yankees, but we can't all ask for.
They should have had an actual starter in for the first 3 innings against the Yankees.
Yeah, but with Sean Manaea injured, it was rough.
I'll talk about the opener when we give it a shot, and I'll tell you what the A's did wrong and what the Rays did right.
Going over to across the bay, the San Francisco Giants.
The San Frans?
No, but the journey of Pat Venditti continues as he is signed with the Giants.
The amphibious pitcher.
Yes.
Yep.
The ambidextrous. So.
No, wait, did you say amphibious?
Yeah. That's a Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra reference, guys.
Goob?
No. I swear to God,
Yogi Berra reference.
I swear to God, I thought you said amphibious. I'm like, he's not a frog.
He did say amphibious. It's a Yogi Berra reference.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Christ, boo-boo.
Boo-boo.
I think that's not a bad sign, really. He got a 1-year deal, was okay in LA, and I think at worst, he's bullpen depth on a bad team and probably might get traded.
He's already left his legacy on the league. He's got the Venditti rule under his belt, so you know what? He doesn't have to worry about being that good of a player.
Garrett
Out of the
Richards
park baseball allow for both-handed pitchers now, finally?
I don't know. So let's see. Garrett Richards went down the coast from Anaheim to San Diego.
All right, yeah. This is all right. This is an all right signing. The Padres seem to be wanting to compete next year, which is fair enough because they've got, very good prospects.
Yeah, all their
Trevor
prospects
Cahill
coming
went
up.
to the Angels 4 days ago.
Oh yeah, Cahill.
We
He
were-
was pretty good for the A's last year.
I think Hill got signed on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, 1-year deal.
Yeah, okay.
He was
It
one of the
seems
top 30.
the
Mhm.
Angels seem to be doing what they usually do, just signing almost ragtag parts to their starting pitching. They're going a bit heavier this year because they won't have Ohtani, so they want to get like at least some level of star power. Matt Harvey will definitely do that, despite the
Mhm.
soap opera of his career for the past few years. He's still got a massive pedigree.
Mhm.
Why did Rangers sign Lance Lynn?
Who knows?
I don't know. Maybe they just want someone to throw balls to the opposing team. Maybe
Yeah,
that's how they start the tank.
throw balls into the catcher's mitt. You know.
They probably signed him because they thought his second half in New York was better than his first half in Minnesota.
My point is that this team is rebuilding. Why are you trying to make a big money contract now?
Because
I mean,
With a multi-year deal
really
too,
wasn't
you
big
can't
money.
trade him.
I mean, you can still trade him, but but they didn't give him a no trade clause. But on the same token,
Yeah.
Who's gonna want
I
to
think-
take that?
I believe they think that he's more so a second half of New York than Minnesota, his first half of Minnesota. That's what I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 years at $10 million, at $30 million, that's 10 a year. That's really not that bad. I mean, granted, it's Lance Lynn, but that's like a good bargain deal where if it doesn't work out, you can just put him in the bullpen. That's my 2 cents on it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
pretty much agree.
So,
Let's see.
the Braves still need a right fielder, and Marwin Gonzalez is still on the market. So I would hope that we could get Marwin, because he was pretty
Or you
dang
just-
good.
Or you guys could just keep Markakis.
Yeah, but that second half Kakis was not as good as the first half Kakis.
Well, yeah, second half was his career norms, which is what you guys kind of needed, and just a leadoff OBP bat. That's not bad.
Or we could just trust our excellent farm system and just take our number 6 prospect Christian Patchy and move him up to the outfield.
I think Lonnie Chisenhall would be a big one. We covered Andrew Miller, CC Sabathia, and J.A. Happ staying with the Yankees, respectively. I think that helps bolster their rotation depth. They're
Yeah,
gonna be having a
absolutely.
lot of young pitchers come in.
They got Masir.
So-
Dude, now their pitching looks
Oh, yeah, the
pretty good.
Yankees starting pitching depth and bullpen depth is ridiculous.
Yeah, seriously.
it-
They're going to be favorites for the World Series next year, unfortunately enough for the rest of the league.
Yeah.
I would say that re-signing 2 guys doesn't really make them better, and they already had problems with their starting pitching last year. So
I mean, they had less in the second half. Sticking in New York, Wilson Ramos went to sign with the Mets for 2 years.
Oh, yeah, that. So, ugh.
Very good signing by the Mets.
Yeah, good. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
good signing.
That's a good value signing for the Mets, I think.
well, then Dionard's got to be on the chopping block at this point.
Yeah, but who would take him? He's old. That guy could be my dad, okay? He's that old. Nathan Eovaldi staying with the Red Sox. I think
He
it's a
got
good
the
deal to bolster that rotation depth. But again, what they signed him for, $68 million for 4 years. That's just going like, hey guys, we don't really want Chris Sale.
With a guy who's had injury problems.
You got
Yeah.
the Pablo Sandoval treatment.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, Xander Bogaerts hits the market at the same time that Sale does.
Oh,
And
boy, next offseason is going to be scramble to get those two.
oh yeah. And I think Mookie Betts hits free agency in 2 years, in a year after that too. So we're gonna be seeing a lot of roster shake Boston.
Yeah, but I mean, they got what they wanted. They got the World Series, so you know what? They can't really be too unhappy about letting those guys go, because they don't
Alright.
want to end up like the Red Wings and just keep them all for the
Yeah.
sake of loyalty and then fall off.
Yeah, and then just be stuck in idle with a giant pay.
At the Giants.
That's really all the big major leagues. But there's another signing after the first round of the draft by the Oakland A's. Kyler Murray, as you all know, was drafted very high and is a very high prospect in the A's system. Fourth overall prospect in Oakland. However, the A's granted him time to play in Oklahoma as their quarterback, and he won the Heisman, which I think is insane. Now the question is for Kyler Murray is, does he stay in baseball and play in Oakland, or does he go to the NFL?
If he's smart, he'll go to baseball. Because
Yes.
Here's my talk on that, because I'm hearing a lot of people say because he's a quarterback, he'll make more money to start out with, and the short-term money might be more valuable than the shot at the long-term money because he might not make it to the majors in baseball. My response to that will be that if you look at the statistics between him and Baker Mayfield through 12 years in their Heisman season, Baker Mayfield was a tad bit better as a passer, but Murray was much better as a runner. Baker Mayfield only had like 300 rushing yards, while Kyler Murray had nearly 900. So you think, yeah, he's a more electrifying player. The biggest problem, he's 5'9".
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson's 5'11", and he's the shortest quarterback in the league by far. Next, Drew Brees is 6 even, and then most everyone else is 6'2". 5'9" is very, very short for a quarterback.
Yeah, that's not gonna go. That's gonna like lower his draft stock. Plus,
and on top of that, I don't think this is really a year where the quarterback's gonna be a priority for most of the teams drafting high.
Oh, absolutely not.
I just posted in our server a while back before the game started today. So before games today, so this is gonna be a week late. The number 1 picks were the Arizona Cardinals, the Oakland Raiders, the New York Jets, San Francisco 49ers, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars won, so they're going to get knocked down. So I think the Lions, who lost, are going to be in that 5th slot. You're talking about 5 teams there that are probably not looking for a quarterback in their first pick.
The Jaguars are going to try anything to get another quarterback.
Jaguars definitely need a pick, but they're not going to be in the top 5 anymore.
Yeah, really the thing is that with Kyler, I think overall, money-wise, he can make more in baseball, especially if he lives up to his potential. He has a 50 hit, 50 power, 70 run. The arm isn't that good, but the fielding is really good. Potentially, like in a quarter outfield spot, he could make around 100 million, 120 million.
He was a shortstop when he got drafted out of high school, and I think they should, at least in the instructional leagues, give him a shot at that again.
Yeah, and also in football, you got football's way rougher of a sport and it has way shorter of a lifespan or a career span. And
the flip side to that is that the minor league gauntlet he has to go through, not on his body, but just to get to the major leagues. There's no guarantee.
But then you've also got like CTE in football.
Yeah,
so it's
definitely.
Yeah.
It's like,
all right.
It's a better choice.
They're protecting quarterbacks
theory,
more than ever now.
But currently, the NFL is a lot more popular than the MLB. It's his decision to make, but in our opinion, the smarter choice is baseball.
Yeah. What do you think about this, Endo?
I think he should go to the MLB because 1, you're risking CTE if you go to the NFL, and 2, you're getting more guaranteed money in the MLB than you do in the NFL because unfortunately it's not really guaranteed that you're gonna get paid. But if
Okay. Since last time you recorded our podcast, a lot of stuff has happened. The first big trade of this offseason, in my opinion, was the Diamondbacks trading Paul Goldschmidt to St. Louis for Carson Kelly, Luke Weaver, Andy Young, and I believe cash.
Yeah, and my dad once again is going to be very happy about that.
Oh yeah, a lot of Cardinal fans are. He helped boost that offense immensely. But the thing is, though, is that I'm kind of ambivalent on this trade. On one hand, I see that St. Louis is going for it, and I'm glad that they're going for it year after year after year. But I don't like what they gave up because Carson Kelly, from what I saw in Memphis, and while it is a hitters league, he did put up great numbers there, offensively and defensively. The problem is, though, is that Yadier Molina isn't getting younger, and he was the closest and best thing they had to a replacement for Yachty. I don't know why. I get why they traded him because the Diamondbacks wanted catcher help, but at the same point for St. Louis, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Luke Weaver, they really yo-yoed him around this year, and that's kind of why he didn't do so well. Because if you just keep going up and down between the majors and the bigs, you're either going to be inconsistent or just not that good. And Andy Young, I mean, he's a 23-year-old going into AA, so fringe prospect at best.
Yeah. Carson Kelly is going to be the Diamondbacks starting catcher because Avila was their best catcher last year, and he hit like a 609 something OPS in the environment they have in Arizona, and that's a very good hitter's park. So yeah, that's pretty unacceptable. offense, even for a catcher. And Carson Kelly is going to get thrown into the fire. He's gotten pretty much September call-ups the past 3 years and hasn't really looked all that great. But he's going to get his opportunity now.
All right, Pirates trading Ivan Nova to the White Sox in salary relief for a guy who's in the Dominican Summer League. I mean, I think it's a good salary dump for Pittsburgh, and Ivan Nova going to the White Sox, that has the potential to be interesting, I think.
I don't feel anything about the trade. I just think it's there because it's pretty meaningless in terms of value.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got Yasiel Puig with Matt Kemp and Alex Wood going to the Cincinnati Reds. Exchange for Homer Bailey and
Jeter Downs and Josiah Gray.
Yes. Oh, and Kyle Farmer and Cash was going to the Reds as well.
$7 million.
Yeah, I was stunned at this trade. I didn't think they would ever get rid of Yasiel Puig. He's such a legend there.
Yeah.
Just like in his, 6 years that he's been there, he's like next to Clayton Kershaw, he's been like their best player pretty much. And
yeah, he's been their big name player, but Justin Turner's been better.
In terms of like personality wise,
he's been their big name player.
Yeah. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, they've had the best pitcher of this generation for the past 10 years. But having Yasiel Puig having a personality like that with a bat to back it up most of the time, having that, you can't really like replace character on a team.
Yeah.
Analytics nerds, eat your heart out.
Yeah.
But we're all analytics nerds, so I mean, as we're eating our hearts out.
I think this is a good trade for both overall. The Reds get pieces to potentially compete. Or at worst, they can trade off come deadline time and get some prospects back. And for the Dodgers, it clears up about $25 salary, which they're using to pay off Homer Bailey's last year. So so that's completely fine. And they get two really good prospects in A-ball and Josiah Gray, who was mid-tier in the Reds system just because of how young he was and that. But there's a lot of potential there. Same with Jeter Downs, who looks fantastic.
Jeter Downs is now the Dodgers' 7th-ranked prospect on MLB Pipeline.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And he's an A-ball. Imagine when he gets to Double-A, the Reds are going to look stupid probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Josiah Gray is their 16th ranked for the Dodgers now.
Mm-hmm. So in the long run, the Dodgers could easily win this trade.
My take on that though is why'd they get rid of Alex Wood?
Because he was owed, I think, $10 or $12 million. Yeah, I think, and they have the rotation depth that way they could get rid of him and not.
$10 million compared to what they were going to have to pay Puig and Kemp for what they're going to get back for Homer Bailey.
Yeah,
Homer Bailey is not a starting pitcher. We can all agree on that, right?
Yeah.
So he's either going to be a reliever that they keep around just to keep around, or he's going to get cut immediately. It'll probably happen after spring training. They'll see how he takes as a reliever.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a pitcher named Homer, and you do a whole lot of success in this league.
Yeah.
Nice pun.
But that's his nickname. That's not even his real name. Why would you call a pitcher Homer? That is a bad omen.
Maybe he likes eating donuts.
Dude, listen, like almost all the like Reds names just scream like old timey America. Like you got
Scooter,
Tucker Barnhart, Scooter Jeanette,
Scooter,
yeah. Joey Votto.
Joey. Well, he's Canadian.
Yeah, Joey's not very much of a nickname.
That sounds like an Italian guy. Joey Votto.
Billy Hamilton. Even though he's
Billy
not on
Hamilton,
the Reds
Kansas City
anymore.
now.
Yeah, even though he's not on the Reds, when he was on the Reds, it still screams old America. Like Billy Hamilton.
There was a Hall of Fame player named Billy Hamilton in the 1800s.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Let's see. Speaking of the Hall of Fame and Hall of Fame careers, we're now seeing a lot of sports writers cast their ballots for the MLB Hall of Fame. Now, I want to all talk about just basically discuss the merit of the players we chose. I'll start. My Hall of Fame ballot, you can choose 10 players. I had Mariano Rivera, greatest closer of all time, even though he played for the Yankees, who basically was Mariano's dad throughout the 90s and the early 2000s, and Edgar Martinez, one of the greatest DHs of all time. Mike Mussina, the last great homegrown Orioles starter, and who also played for the Yankees, was really solid. I never won a Cy Young just because he always played in the same league as Roger Clemens for the most part. Roy Halladay, Jay's legend.
Rest in peace.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hope he's feeling happier and wherever he is. Barry Bonds, arguably the greatest baseball hitter of all time.
I think he's probably the greatest player of all time. I think he's right up there with Babe and Hank and Ted.
With Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron and all of them.
And Ted.
Ted. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Ted, hit king. Roger Clemens, one of the greatest pitchers of all time, even if he did steroids.
So did Barry Bonds, but
allegedly.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna truth on that. He pretty much doubled his weight from 97 to 98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no really denying it. Even with steroids, you still got to be good at baseball. You still got to be able to hit. The one record that I'm pretty sure everybody can take away from him because of the steroids is home runs. Because what do you need for home runs? You need power, and steroids give you power. So
I don't know. I don't know with his swing though. I don't know.
He's always a good home run hitter, even before the roids.
Yeah, but
not 72 a year home run hitter, but.
Not 762 lifetime. I in my opinion, Hank Aaron is still the home run king.
I don't know.
I will say I don't care if they do steroids. I don't.
Larry Walker. Let's see, Larry Walker, who was a great right fielder, great and part of that '94 Expos team, and was really the big face of the Rockies for a long time.
Alongside Todd Helton.
I think Walker deserves to get it. Speaking of great bats, Gary Sheffield is next, even though he's had a ton of quote-unquote personality issues over the years. I think hitting-wise, he was one of the best. I would put him in there. Oriole legend Kurt Schilling, even though everyone in the media hates him,
come on.
I think numbers-wise, he deserves to be in the Hall.
Absolutely, he deserves to be in the. He was second in the Cy Young 4 years in a row, only behind his buddy and teammate Randy Johnson.
And Roger Clemens.
Yeah, I mean, come on. You have to get him in, even though he's very, very outspoken. Who cares?
Yeah, he
didn't have enough complete games in an era where complete games became completely meaningless as a statistic.
Yeah,
basically.
XD.
And probably the third or fourth best third baseman of all time, behind Brooks Robinson, of course, Scott Rowland. He was really one of the better third basemen. One of the best, and he consistently could play that hot corner really well until his age 40 season, and he always hit very well. I don't see why he hasn't been elected in already.
I mean,
did you say Edgar Martinez yet?
Yeah, I said Edgar.
Okay, yeah, it's his last year on the ballot. I want to give a shout out to Fred McGriff, Crime Dog, Fred McGriff.
Yeah,
it's his last.
Tampa Bay Devil Rays legend.
Tampa Bay Devil Rays legend, exactly.
Oh, I was talking about Manny Ramirez, the Tampa Bay Rays legend.
And also Atlanta legend, Fred McGriff, who helped us get to that illustrious title in '95. Honestly, I saw a comparison a while ago on Twitter. It was comparing him to either Jeff Bagwell or Craig Biggio, and he had better stats in, I think, RBIs, I think it was slugging, on-base percentage, and batting average, and hits, I think. Then it was either Craig Biggio or Bagwell, one of the two Astros. And this is McGriff's final year on the ballot, and I don't think that's really fair. I think Crime Dog should get in the Hall of Fame. He had 2,400 hits, for Christ's sake. Not many people can say that they can do that.
Bennett, what's your ballot outside of your love for Fred McGriff?
Yeah. Sorry, I got a hard on. Mo, obviously. Halladay, obviously. Edgar, maybe not as obviously, but I think he deserves it. Clemens, Bonds, and Schilling, as much as I don't like that they did steroids, you still have to be good at the game. Messina, most of mine are the same as yours. Sheffield, yeah. Andrew Jones, just because he's one of the single best center fielders defensively of all time.
Yeah, he was off my ballot this year. Probably next year he would be on mine.
You got Todd Helton on there. Rocky's absolute legend. 2,500 hits, had an all-star for 5 straight seasons, starting in the 2000s. Batting title, Gold Glover, Silver Slugger, career batting average of .316, career OPS of .953. Just one of the best hitters of his era. Miguel Tejada, Moneyball Man.
Really?
Yeah,
Former,
yeah.
former Oriole legend Miguel Tejada.
Yes, but mainly Oakland legend Miguel Tejada.
Yeah,
I think he
the
deserves
guy
it
who
for.
the guy who ruined Rafael Palmeiro's career,
Yeah.
Miguel Tejada.
I think he definitely should deserve to be in there. 2,400 hits, 1,300 RBIs. He was pretty much the face of Moneyball, and I don't think that should ever be like forgotten. Even though the A's never won a championship with Moneyball, it was so legendary and revolutionized baseball. And Miguel Tejada was at the front of it. Besides Billy Beane, the guy that did everything. But on the field, Miguel Tejada was the face of it. So, and finally, Berkman, Lance Berkman.
I don't know about that one.
I mean, he was a pretty
Fringe.
I think he'll get in eventually, like whenever there's a weak class.
I think he might drop off the ballot this year. Honestly.
No, this is his first year.
Yeah,
no, but
if
if
under 5%.
Oh, that's
yeah.
Is that how it works? Sorry, I'm new to
that's
this.
how it works. You goob.
Goob. Oh, how dare you?
You goob. You done goofed. You goob. All right.
I don't have a Hall of Fame ballot done because I'm casual, so give it to Hendo.
Yeah. For the obvious choices, I need no explanation. Rivera, Edgar, Halladay, Bonds, Clemens. Those are the big guys, the obvious names. Then for the sixth name, I chose Todd Helton, who, despite playing in Coors, racked up more walks than strikeouts with 1,300 to 1,100. And had a 316, 414, 540 batting line. And he's played 16 years, which was pretty ridiculous. Accumulated nearly 9,500 plate appearances, and his 2000 season was ridiculous. Then the next name I have was Scott Rowland, which was already explained, but he's probably one of the greatest defensive third basemen of all time.
And offensively, he was fantastic too.
Yeah.
Eight Gold Gloves, 7 All-Star appearances, 70 WAR. Yeah, he's Hall of Famer. Then Andrew Jones, which, I would say he's probably definitely one of the greatest outfielders of the 90s. Definitely the best defensive one, I would say. 10 Gold Gloves, over 400 homers. He's not really he wasn't really that great. It wasn't that valuable offensively, but his defense was more than made up for it.
Sensational. You kidding me?
Yep.
Yeah. Also, to add on to Todd Helton, his nickname is the Todd Father. Come on, we have to get him into the Hall of Fame.
The Todd Father must be in Cooperstown.
Must be in Cooperstown.
Yeah. Then my ninth pick was Mussina, which isn't as obvious because he never won a Cy Young, but he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time, I would say. Then for my 10th pick, I picked Billy Wagner, which might seem confusing at first, but he's one of the greatest strikeout relief pitchers of all time. His career strikeout per 9 over 16 years was 12. Accumulated over 400 saves.
An ERA of 2.31.
Yeah. It's accumulated a whip below 1, I would say. He was very dominant even in his last year with Atlanta. Put up a 1.43 ERA with 13.5 strikeouts per 9, 2.9 walks per 9, and less than 1 home run given up per 9 innings. That was
nutty.
Jesus. He could have gone on longer if he wanted to, but chose to retire. Yeah, he's definitely a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. What about you, Bunny?
Already said I don't really have a ballot. I just haven't really sat down and thought about it. I could probably make one if I wanted to, but I don't want to waste all of our time.
Yeah.
All right. That's fair enough, I guess. Whatever.
Also, a little bit of a funny thing. Rick Ankiel's on the ballot this year.
Yeah.
He's dropping off pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think Lance Berkman is going to be on the ballot that off. I think he's going to be a one and done guy.
Yeah, I'm hoping Miguel Tejada can stay on the ballot because he meant
I
so
highly
much.
doubt it.
Yeah.
Even as someone who I didn't really like playing in and he did really well. But overall, he fizzled out like 2008 and just kept on going. I don't know. I don't think so. Let's see. Ray Holiday, Todd Helton. What do you guys think Andy Pettit will be on the ballot next year or no?
Yes, I think he will.
Yeah, I think he will.
Yeah. I think Pettit's I don't know. Pettit has that weird steroid, like I actually did it stigma. Same thing with
Clemens.
No, Clemens that never came out about. What was his name? Manny Ramirez. Same thing as Manny Ramirez, but you let them both in because they are doing it. Like that's kind of the weird gray area baseball fans fall under. Personally, though, I'd vote for both of them next year. I think, but I don't know. I think that's like that weird gray of what killed Major League Baseball in the popular eye was steroids. All right, let's go to prospects. Bunny, do you want to start?
Yeah, I guess I will. My prospect that I've picked for this week is Vidal Brujan, who's kind of been lost in our glut of middle infielders. We had Colton Wong's little brother, Keen Wong. In Durham, we have Lucius Fox. We've had Wiley Adames for a long time. He just graduated as a prospect and is now our starting shortstop. And now we have Wander Franco. But we still have a guy who was in Bowling Green for most of the year who had a very impressive hit tool. Over 320 between his two stops in Bowling Green and in Charlotte. He got promoted late. He had an OPS of over 1,000 while he was in Charlotte, which is a pitcher's league in the Florida State League.
Nice.
And he's only 20 years old. He's going to be 21 next year. He's probably going to get to go to Montgomery for the Biscuits. He can play both second and short. He's got a 55 hit grade, 40 power, a 65 run, a 50 arm, and a 55 field, according to MLB Pipeline. And he's a switch hitter. And I always love switch hitters. And I love middle infield switch hitters. It feels like they can do anything on the baseball field. So he's a good do-everything guy. If he doesn't really work at something, he might work at something else. And I realize we have a lot of middle infield talent, but he's a guy who's not going to get looked at as the first thought of guys when they think middle infield Tampa Bay Rays prospects. But he's still highly rated, and he'd be highly rated in any other system, too.
All right. If you don't mind, I'll go next.
Go for it.
My prospect is 28th, Braves 28th ranked prospect Jacob Webb. He's a right-handed pitcher. He's a little old. He is 25 years old, 6'1", 200 pounds. He's a pitcher with scouting grades of 65 fastball, 50 slider, control 45. His ERA in the minors this year from AA to AAA was 3.15. He had an opponent average of 184. His whip actually got lower when he went to AAA. It dropped from 124 to 98. He has 69 strikeouts. Everyone say it. Nice. Yeah, he allowed only 36 hits and only 7 homers. His walks kind of high, 23 walks. And he had 54 innings pitched, 18 saves in 51 games. So, and that's not games finished, that's just in general games. A bit of an underrated prospect. And according to this scouting report, he can get to around 96 miles an hour. So he's got a very good future ahead of him.
All right, Hendo, and then I'll close out.
The guy I picked was our 2017 international signing of right fielder Julio Rodriguez. I talked about him a bit. In the DSL, he hit 315, 404, 525 with a 440 weighted on base average to go along with his 5 homers and a perfect 10-0 stolen base to caught stealing ratio in 59 games. He's projected for very high power and hit tool for his age with an advanced approach to hitting, which is surprising considering he's turning 18 this month. And he was projected to start in a higher level in the Arizona League. He's expected to begin 2019 in Class A Virginia, which is pretty ridiculous considering He's turning 18 this month, like I said.
That's pretty cool.
His projected like raw power tool is like 60, and his projected game power tool is 55. His future value, according to Fangraphs, is 45. He has he's projected for a very nice arm. It's like nearing its ceiling, like 60. He is projected to be a 50 fielder, and yeah, that's pretty much it. He's pretty much our 4th ranked prospect on the team right now, according to Fangraphs. But that could change. He's projected to be up in 2022.
That's interesting. That's a really good pick, I think.
Yeah, I want to, on the topic of good picks, and before you go to MD, sorry, I want to say that everyone who picked someone in the first episode, watch out, because we all know that Plasmeyer got traded. Brock Burke got traded too. We'll talk about that probably next time if it's even worth our time. I think we've created the jinx.
I pray to Jesus Ryan McKenna doesn't get traded. That guy looked good in the Arizona Fall League. Anyway, speaking of mine, I'm gonna go with our second round pick in 2012, who just got added to the 40-man roster, Brandon Klein. Even though he's a little old at 27, I think he's a good prospect coming out of the bullpen, because this year in Frederick and Bowie, 2 big hitters parks, he had a 1.31 ERA in 12 games and a 1.8 in 32 games in Double-A Bowie. Collected 15 saves in Double-A and 17 in Single-A Frederick. He was recently out of the Orioles 40-man roster, I think, to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. His fastball took a step forward, sitting around 90, 97 life in the zone. It can flatten out at times and become a little bit of a meatball, but the pitch is overall commanded well. The offset to his fastball is around 87 mile an hour slider, which is a plus offering and misses bats. Adds in a swing and miss changeup on occasion that can be real tough on lefties, who OPS just 497 off them in the minors. Eastern League batters as a whole slashed 217, 275 OBP, and a 562 OPS off of him. What really going forward will be his command of the fastball consistently, and after missing so much time, can he stay healthy? With a 3-pitch mix as well, excuse me, will the Orioles potentially try him out as a starter? And really, I think he should just be left in the be a very a plus asset coming out of the pen, I think. Thank you everyone for tuning in to another great field. Thank you to Bennett for filling in for one of our guest spots this week.
No problem.
Can find him.
This is a lot of fun.
I'm glad to hear that. You can check him out on Twitter at I think it was the Bennett. I believe.
No, it's Bennett Boy, because the Bennett Boy was taken by an account that hasn't been active for about 5 years.
Ripper Rooney. And you can also find him on the Turnover Machine, which will be in the links in the description below.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Speaking of thank yous, I'd like to thank the audience tuning in, listening in to another great Laptops on the Field. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or potential topics that you would like us to discuss, you can email us at laptopsonthefield@gmail.com, or you can ask us on Twitter at laptops on the field. Thank you so very much, everyone, and have a great night or great day.
See you later.
See you.
Oh God, I have to edit this.